Almost there. All right. Cool. We are recording, so I'll turn that off, otherwise we'll echo everywhere. All right. We are with it. All right. So no iPad today. I'm going to have to diagnose what's going on there and find my cable that I always know works. But welcome to the Engage session today. I'm back from Thailand. If you've had a chance to listen to the recording of our Euro session last week, really good session. The most ridiculous thing that ever happened to me on webinars occurred, but you'll have to listen in to the first part of that extraordinary recording to see how it happened. Let me straighten up my hat here. It's all skew whiff. There we are. Very good. So had a fantastic time in Thailand. Not the main reason is that we spent 6 days teaching beginners how to get their business started, and they actually did it live there, and it was just an amazing experience. So I can't wait to do that with you guys in a live situation. So I'm definitely going to do it now having observed and seen it all working. It's not like the old days where technology used to be just dreadful. It's now definitely worth doing. So I'm very excited to be bringing some live academy and recipe stuff to you guys later in the year. All right, but enough about me. It's all about you in the Engage session, and let's get those wins up. So what were the wins for the week? And if you're watching the recording of this, there's no iPad this week. Just have to do my useful face. So there we have. So for those of us who are live, what were your wins for the week? Just type in the W and the colon and type those in. I'll give you a minute. Set a timer for 1 minute.
Okay, 1 minute and counting.
Already got some wins coming through here. Secured a new supplier. Spent a very relaxing week on vacation in Florida and got my batteries recharged. Well done. Updated my Sage doc and am feeling much more confident about the value it provides. Major birthdays done. Blurbs for first ebook almost finished. 2 to go. Marvelous. Enrolled an online work in progress training course on how to set up structural foundation to create, launch, sell high quality online courses with minimum monetary outlay. Did you copy that or did you type that in? Worked a live session with clients. Could be a prototype. Copy and paste. I thought so, Rich. It sounded like marketing copy. Very good. Marvelous. Fantastic. Very good. Okay, so speaking of L's and learns, what were your lessons for the week? That's an L and a colon, and I'll give you a minute to do that. Just hit the timer. A minute with your learns. And my big learning during the week, no question about it, was how good you can work and actually do businesses live if you've got people in the room for a good run of days. And that was fantastic. We had people flying in from all over the world to Thailand, and it was my mate David Kavanagh's workshop, and I was there to help him teach and observe and learn, and it was fantastic. Just the amount of stuff that the participants got through, and I learned an entire new way to do the Winter Haven methodology, the actual technology behind the Winter Haven method, which I'm really excited to teach you guys about. So look for a special training session. I might even get Dave on to help with that, but also going to be doing another workshop in July, and I'm going to be inviting you guys along. So I'm very much looking forward to that, and very excited about it. So let's have a look at your learns for the week. Relearn that less is more regarding my initial cookie email. Yes, Val, thank you. And if you didn't see that in the Slack group this week, Val did a fantastic service for everybody, I think, by copying and pasting her cookie email, which was great because there were some mistakes in it, but they're mistakes that a lot of people make. So it was great to be able to see that on the Slack group. Let's have a look. What else? Time timer is even great for my day job. Yes, it works everywhere. That is for sure. Sheep can jump electric fences. Blogging. It's okay not to get lots done on some weeks. Rewatch previous sessions of the recipe and gain greater understanding of the process. I'm now confident I can complete the steps necessary to build a successful online business. Fantastic. And of course, Monty of a lesson, unfortunately, had to postpone it the week before last because of I got sick and I had no voice to be able to teach it. But I'm really looking forward to this week's recipe. We're actually taking a very well-known marketing technique, and we're going to actually create tickets together of that marketing technique. So I'm going to show you actually how to apply it in real life. And then the final lesson of the recipe will actually be going into the recipe I used with Instagram. So you'll really start to see practical applications over the final 2 weeks of the recipe. So I'm really looking forward to showing that. Let's have a look. Even if all the T's aren't crossed and I's not dotted, I can still be successful if trust is there in the first place. Very good. Excellent. All right. So this is the part where I get to help you. No beautiful drawings this week, sadly. But if you've got something that I can help you out with, then please put an N and a colon and type that into the comments, and I will help you out with all of that. Be happy to do so. That would be great. Hi to everybody on YouTube too, which is really great. So yeah, what else did I learn during the week? There was some great, like I said, I've got a whole new way of doing the technology behind the Winter Haven. Oh, that's another thing, and I must do a post on this too. For the last couple of years, I've been recommending Send 13, but they've decided to go in a different direction with their service and so on, and they're not working with ClickFunnels anymore or anything like that. So look out for some different recommendations from me. In fact, I have to redo a whole bunch of my website, but there's good news in that the lesson that David Kavanagh taught his, that's much better English, taught his workshop candidates is just superb for the Winter Haven method. So I can't wait to it doesn't matter whether you're testing one market or multiple markets. Sorry, got an itchy nose here. I don't know why. It's just fantastic for all of that, which is really great. Doesn't look like there's any needs today. Doesn't everybody seems to be puddling along very well? That's okay. That is super fine. That happens from time to time. And so that's all right. But yeah, we can, of course, do them next week. I'll be in. Oh, that was the other piece of news that I want to tell you is that I will be in San Diego all of next week for the Traffic and Conversion conference that Ryan Dice puts on, and Ryan Levesque asked me to run a mastermind for him, so I'm going and doing that mastermind with Ryan. So very much looking forward to that. And if any of you, and I'm hoping to do an Academy members meetup, because there's quite a few of you in that sort of neck of the woods in the United States. So look out for a email and posting on the Slack group there. Now let me just double check here. Okay, we've got so a couple have just come through at the death. Okay, so we've got, I think I'm not sure who that is, but why won't you show me who this is? Roland, that's who it is. Okay. All right, I'll bring you in. Oh, there's two Roland lows, which is always a bit of a worry. Hopefully this is the right Roland.
Hey, can you hear me?
Hey, there is.
Yeah. Oh, okay, great.
Okay, so you didn't get to finish typing your question.
Right. But basically, 2 weeks ago we had spoken,
Mhm.
and I started taking your advice on asking the Slack group a couple questions. But before I jumped into Slack to really do a deep question dive, I started going over some of your previous videos because what I didn't want to do is start asking questions where I already knew the answer to, or you had already spoken to, what to do in like
Mhm.
previous videos. In doing so, one question that I had, because I went over the video a couple of times, when you said to ask people about the t-shirt market,
Mhm.
was that based on my answer of that I find that a lot of people are buying products for nostalgic reasons?
Yeah, no, it was because it was a parallel business, right? So
Okay.
they were like you have nostalgia products, right? Nostalgia food products and nostalgia different parts. And as a what I thought would be very interesting is doing some research into the
Mhm.
t-shirt market on
Okay.
Facebook because it is a great example of identifying nostalgia and creating products specifically for that. In this case, t-shirts. In your case, you've got food products and so on. So I thought there might be some good lessons there for you in terms
Mhm.
of products. And there's a lot of material available on the whole t-shirt marketing side of things.
That there is, and because prior to doing what we're doing now, the recipe and everything,
Mm.
I did dip into the t-shirt market, and I have one or two associates here in the city who actually deal in t-shirts.
Mm.
But what I kind of found was, as I was trying to look into the market, trying to see, okay, um, how deep, or is there a market, especially for the a couple of the products that I have. I found,
Mhm.
okay, there was one website, um, but it, it's kind of a little bit difficult for me to quantify because aside from
No,
nostalgia.
no, no. Well, what I specifically wanted to do, Roland,
Mhm,
was
mhm,
I suspect there were processes in the t-shirt market which
okay.
said, "How do I know if a t-shirt's going to work or not?"
Right.
Right, and
Okay.
they have methodologies for testing to see
Okay.
if a particular t-shirt is going to sell or not. And
Okay.
what I was hoping you get out of that is
Mhm,
to swap in your products for the t-shirt, but use that same methodology because I suspect it would. I get my guess, my hypothesis is that
mhm,
that would work as well. So that's why I suggested, how do people test to see if the t-shirts will sell?
mhm.
Use that same methodology to
Mhm.
test for your products.
Okay.
That was what I was going for there. Does that make sense?
Okay. It makes sense. I guess my thought process, or my questioning, is for a product, um, like a for example, like a standalone product. Like if I was to
Mm-hmm.
say something like yeast for
Mm-hmm.
baking,
Mm-hmm.
um, how, like, to test that on Facebook to say, hey, you want to buy the yeast?
Yeah, but it's nostalgia.
Right,
It's not just yeast, right?
right,
The
right.
advice I gave you was because, like, if you were just selling yeast and there was nothing special about the yeast, I wouldn't be
Hmm.
giving you the t-shirt market advice. You're
Okay.
specifically using nostalgia-based products. Like, remember this from when you were a kid, right?
Mhm. Well, not specifically, although that is some of the commentary that I've had um, from some comments and reviews about the product, and I think that's partially my fault in describing who my market is, because the other side of that would be it's a convenience factor in that, because, as I said before, because I'm in Canada, some products you can't get, or in order to get to that store to get it, you're traveling. In some cases, when I've looked at where some of the products gone, you'd have to travel 2 hours to the shop where
Okay,
would
I get you.
buy it.
But the last time we were talking about nostalgia,
Right,
right? And
right.
then I would advise a completely different roadmap
Okay,
based on convenience,
okay.
right?
Right,
Or lack of availability, right?
right.
Or the fact that you can, because that's a more regional based marketing strategy,
Okay.
right? So, like if you're in Canada and these goods are like you're doing the hard work of making these goods available in Canada, and it's a
Mm-hmm,
convenience factor for people, then
mm-hmm.
you need to advertise to people based on the convenience. They're two completely different,
Right.
they're completely different marketing campaigns. A nostalgia based
Mm-hmm,
campaign is
mm-hmm.
completely different to a convenience campaign because they are two different, they play on two different emotions.
Right. Fair enough.
So,
Fair enough.
so you have
Okay.
to look at the product. Is this a nostalgia based product or is this a convenience product? And then
Mm-hmm.
market accordingly.
Accordingly. Okay.
All
Okay.
right.
So in a sense, I have to, in a sense, research one or the other depending on the product I'm dealing with.
Correct. Yeah. And I'd start with your
Okay.
bestseller, right? So
True.
whatever your bestseller is it a
Mhm.
nostalgia or a convenience product? If it's a convenience product, well, then you look at, okay, how are people advertising convenience product and
Mhm.
driving traffic to convenience, and there'll be fans of,
Mhm.
when what do they use that convenience product for, and then start to market to that. Or
Okay.
if it's nostalgia, it's,
Mhm.
you're marketing to people of a certain age and a certain, they'll like certain things,
Mhm.
and then you can start to identify people based on
Okay.
that. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Which puts me in the one question I have for something like a nostalgic branded product. Um, would it make sense? Um, would it make sense to create? Because I know one of your big things is to create a tribe.
Mm-hmm.
Would it make sense to create a tribe around not necessarily the product itself, but more in terms of the family of the product? So,
Mm-hmm.
um, like I was saying, for example, um, something like an old time candy, like a hard candy that
Mm-hmm.
specially made, maybe not that one particular brand of candy,
Mm.
but if there's like, let's say a candy made like that in the Northeast, something similar maybe in the southern eastern part, which uses different ingredients. Maybe another type of hard candy that's made, in the center of the country, or something that's made in the states that's brought up.
Mm-hmm.
Would that make sense?
Well, what would potentially make sense? I'm not saying this is right for you specifically, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you're 100% right. I'm a huge fan of tribes of businesses
Mm-hmm.
because when I'm exploiting arbitrage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So where I can buy low and sell high, I know
Mm-hmm.
that's only going to last for a certain period of time before
Right.
consumers go direct to the source, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm always very aware. So I'm very big on doing tribes. So, for example, if I was looking at getting into the nostalgic candy business,
Mm-hmm.
right, I would probably, yes, build my tribe around nostalgia candies, right? And vintage candies. I wouldn't be like not one particular, unless it was massive. You could probably do one, for example, it's not so big in the United States, but to give you an example, Kit Kats in Asia have almost cult-like status. Right? They are hugely popular. You could easily create, in fact, because there are fan groups, massive fan groups for this one particular candy, the Kit Kat, right? So if it's a massive one, you possibly could do a fan group based on one, but if not any single one was, I would do, 70s candies or nostalgia, vintage candies or any sort of stuff. And you get people who are candy lovers through that. And that's the way you build your tribe. That's sort of the way I would look at it. But, that's a lot of work for, an arbitrage situation, to build a tribe like that. So, the other side of it, and we actually had some good questions in the Slack group this week about, well, okay, so we're selling to people. How do we get email addresses? How do we able to, because, one of the negatives of selling through these third-party services is that you don't actually get the contact details.
Right.
How do you collect email content? So you build a database, because if they've bought one candy, the likelihood of them buying something else from you is much, much higher. So just trying to build up the lifetime value of that customer would be a good thing. But if you look at, your very first step is you have to look at what you are going to, look at your top product and say, okay, how am I going to go about this? Is this a nostalgia or is it convenience? And then that will give you, okay, so I need to research, how do I drive traffic to a nostalgia piece, or how do I drive traffic to convenience piece? All right. Good on you, Roland.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ed.
No worries. All right. It's an interesting one. It's, there's a lot of opportunities and arbitrage opportunities in e-commerce, but the best way to utilize an arbitrage opportunity is when you are able to use that audience, build that audience, and create your own tribe, so you can potentially market your own products, your own services, do your own deals, and then all of a sudden you use the arbitrage to build the audience, but then you create your own products and services to be able to build a real business out of it, build a business of a group of fans that you are serving. Okay, our final contestant for today is Val. Let's get Val up and I'll read her question while I press this button. Although my productivity has gone up significantly since I started using Kanban, I know I'm not quite doing it right. That's all right. We all are in that place. I've started reading personal Kanban, but I'm still not sure when and how you break down something. Okay. All right. You there, Val?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you beautifully. Very good. Okay. Can you give me an example?
What I find happening is I'll have something that I know is bigger than, one CFT or one ticket, and I'll move it over into the ready. And then am I supposed to at that point break it out into 5 or 6 tickets, or?
Right. Okay. Yes.
I end up adding to the today column like a brand new ticket all the time.
Yeah, that's right. And then that really stuffs you up, because at the start of the week, if you thought you had, say, 4 CFTs available to you, right, and all of a sudden you're adding more tickets, then your expectations are blown out and you have tickets left on the table, because if you have to make a whole bunch of tickets, because by definition you can't get them all done in that CFT, how does that work? So fortunately there's a very good solution to this. The time to break up a task is when you're moving it from the hopper or the backlog or options column, depending on what you call it. Any of those is fine. And moving it into the ready column for the week. That is the time where you never allow an epic to enter the ready column.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, because that way it solves your problem. Because at the end, how do we choose how many tickets we're going to put in the ready column this week? Well, we do that based on the fact that we've already looked at our week and said, okay, I've got 4 CFTs this week, busy week. I've got 4 CFTs I'm able to do. So it's very important to break down that epic before, because at the end of the day, you're only allowed 4 tickets into that ready column. If you've scheduled 4, the max number of tickets you're allowed in the ready column is 4. Right? If you'd scheduled 6, the max you're allowed to put in that ready column is 6. So it's very important. Like if you find yourself having to break down a task, you do not want to be doing that midweek, right? You want to do that at the start of the week so that you can go, you know what? Okay, so this is the epic that I'm working on at the moment. It's going to take me more than 1 CFT, so I have to break it down. Does that make sense? It's a great question, because otherwise what happens is you find yourself, if you're breaking it down midweek, then all of a sudden you run into real problems because your expectations are blown out. You've only got 4 CFTs, but you've got 8 tickets in the ready column.
Right. That happens all the time. So that's what
so that's the thing. So when you do your Monday morning, I do it Monday morning, whenever you do it, Sunday night, some people do it Friday afternoon, whenever you're doing your reset of the board, that is the exact time. You never allow epics to enter the ready column.
Okay. So do you also put tickets up for non-CFTs? I mean, do you put those in the same board or?
What, like what? What type of activity?
Just things that would not qualify. Let's see, what would it be? Something that I do.
Okay. Well, yes. The answer is yes. Right. There's plenty of stuff that I do which is not on the board, and they are things that are on like my daily checklist. Like, have I checked Slack today? Have I gone through my customer support email for the academy? Have I, what else? I'm trying to read. I've got the wrong glasses on and I can't read it from here, but I have a checklist of stuff, because that's not value. It's just stuff that I have to do as a day to day. Does that make sense?
Yeah. What if it's not a daily thing though? If it's something that comes up, but it's not that big,
depends. Is it to do with my project?
Yes.
Well, if it is, then it goes on the board.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And like that will happen. Sometimes something comes up that you just could not have anticipated. And that happens. That's life, but do make sure you put the ticket on there, because you want to, because at the end of the week, when you're doing your board reset, it's a time to be retrospective. And if you find, sometimes I'll put a little sad face on a ticket that I didn't anticipate. And if you've got 2 or 3 sad faces in there, you've got to ask yourself, why are they sad faces? And how did I not see that coming? And sometimes you can't, right? You just can't. And if that's okay, you give yourself a leave pass and you go, okay, I didn't see that coming. But it was important and I had to do it. But
I forgot about the sad faces. That's a good reminder.
Yeah, right. It's a great thing to, anytime that like where you've had to put a ticket on the board midweek, I would definitely mark the ticket with a little sad face. So at the end of the week, you can have a look at it and then you can ask yourself, okay, well, why did that happen? Could have I anticipated? Because it's amazing how often you could have anticipated it. And it's not to beat yourself up. It's so you can learn for next time. So next time when I have a go at resetting the board, I'll make allowances for activity X.
Great. Yep, that's good.
Beautiful. That's a great question. That'll help a lot of people, actually, Val. Thank you. That's the second excellent question. You are my official. This is a brand new award. You are officially our first questioner of the week for your great Slack and great Engage session contribution. So well done, Val. There are no prizes, but it's a great honor.
Thanks, Ed.
Well done. That is fantastic. Very good. I'll just send you. Oh, hang on. Let's have it. Yes, there's a couple of people in the chat saying helped me. Dan saying, just adding to that, would you have 2 separate Kanban boards, one for your current business and one for the Academy project? Typically, I only have one Kanban board, right? And everything goes on that. However, when you're first starting out, I recommend the only Kanban board you do is for your Academy project only, because you're just learning the process. Okay, that's case one. So while you're learning the Kanban process, just keep your Academy project on there. But then as soon as you're comfortable, add in everything else, because it'll be better for you, right? It'll work better for you. Then comes stage 3. And a great example of this was like when I was doing the big Instagram challenge last year. I actually created a whole new out there, a new Kanban board out there. And I did a special board for that project because that was such an intense project. I created a separate board for that. But as a general rule, this board just over here is the board that, in fact, I've just reminded myself because I traveled home from Thailand yesterday. I actually have to reset that thing. And that's the board over there. And so I use that as a general rule. But when I've got a big project that I'm working on, like a launch or something like that, I'll break out. I've got a separate Kanban board out there, which I utilize for an individual project. But when you're starting out, again, just to emphasize, I would do the Kanban board for one project just so you get a flow for it, because it'll take you, it takes ages to get it right. And I still stuff up. Don't worry. I still find myself with an epic sneaking on to the ready column, right? I do all those mistakes, but here's the thing. You don't beat yourself up over the head. You just learn for next time. You realize, oh, okay. So put a sad face on it and put it so in the done column when you're looking at resetting your board for the week, you can go, okay, could have I done something about, what can I learn from that? How can I learn from this so I can improve next time? And that's what we want to see. We want to see that constant growth. All right, folks, that's it for the Engage session today. I'll be in San Diego next week at Traffic and Conversion. So if there are any Academy students, we'll be having a meetup in the region. So look forward to that. And we'll speak to you all next week. Oh, and don't forget, the cookbook episode of the recipe is on Friday at, get this right, Ed, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you register for that. All the registration details are in the Slack group. So you can register for that because it's going to be a doozy. We're going to break down a very well-known course and create tickets for it so you can see how to practically apply everything. Oh, did I say Friday? I'm sorry. It's Thursday Eastern. Thank you, Sharon, for saying that. It's Thursday Eastern, Friday here, of course, but it's Thursday, 1:30 p.m. All right? Thursday. And it's going to be awesome. So I don't want you to miss it. All right. With that, thanks very much, everybody. And we'll speak to you at our next Engage session next week. And of course, look out for the email on Friday with all the new session details and everything like that. Or spoiler alert, they'll always be in the Slack group before I even send out the email. So, all right. With that, thanks, everybody. And we'll speak soon. Oop, better stop this recording too.